1, 2, 3, 4. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Swift Guitar Lessons. Today I'm sharing with you a very basic jazz guitar lesson as I break down the 2, 5, 1, 6 jazz chord progression, one of the most popular progressions in jazz. I'll also be sharing with you a pretty hot lick and giving away a couple tickets to the Newport Jazz Festival's on-tour performance at the Kimmel Center here in Philadelphia. Let's get started. Okay, so we have a close look at the neck, and we're going to start off learning this jazz chord progression, the 2, 5, 1, 6 progression. All right, so the first chord that we're going to need is a D minor 7 chord. I'm barring everything here on the 5th fret, and my ring finger is going to the 7th fret of the D string. My G string is left to the bar as my middle finger takes the 6th fret of the B string. Your D minor 7 chord. While we're here, I'll just show you one little alternative that you can throw in. You can actually take your pinky and put it here on the high 7. That would be the 8th fret of the E string. Very jazzy chord. Next, we're going to go to a G dominant 7. So basically, I just took this shape here in the D minor, brought it up 1 string, the whole operation, and down 2 frets. So I'm barring the 3rd fret from the E string all the way to the high E string. My ring finger goes to the 5th fret of the A string, and my middle finger goes to the 4th fret of the G string. Okay, and then finally, I go to the C major 7 chord, where I'm going to take my first finger, put it here, and I'm going to bar everything from the A string to the high E string on the 3rd fret. My ring finger then goes to the D string. 5th fret, middle finger, back 1 fret, down 1 string, that's the 4th fret of the G string, and my pinky is down below on the 5th fret of the B string. Probably the most jazzy chord you can possibly find. Okay, and those 3 chords alone make up what's called the 2-5-1 progression. We're in the key of C, so D is the 2nd note of the C scale. So that's our 2. And then up to the G, well, G, the root there is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th note of the C major scale, so that's our 5 chord. And then we have the C major chord, R1, C major 7. The 2-5-1 progression, the most common progression used in jazz music. And then we're just adding 1 extra chord to that formula, an A dominant 7. So we'd have D minor, G7, C major 7, and then A7, which you can play just by basically playing an A major chord, but taking the center finger out. I like to bring my ring finger down to the B string 2nd fret. So that whole chord would be open A string, 2nd fret of the D string, open G, 2nd fret of the B, and high E string open as well. Okay, I could play that chord shape just by taking that G7 chord and bringing it up 1 whole step. So then we'd have D minor, G7, C major 7, A7. Makes a nice little box shape. Okay, so while I have you learning these chords, I'm thinking about some of the more advanced players that may be watching, and I'm going to give you some different alternatives that you can throw in for each of these chord shapes. So I've already mentioned that on the D minor 7 chord, we can add that high pinky in just to brighten up that shape. Okay, that's the pinky on the 8th fret of the high E string on the 7th. But as we move to the G dominant 7, one of my favorite sounds that I like to throw in a lot of times is the flat 13. So this chord is first finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string, middle finger here on the dominant 7th chord, or 7th note on the 3rd fret of the D string. I got the major 3rd of the chord here on the 4th fret of the G, and my pinky beneath that playing the flatted 13th, which would normally be here on the 5th fret, but we've just flatted that 13 back, flat 13 chord. Adds a lot of color and a lot of distress to the chord progression. I got the C major 7 chord as usual, but let's say going into that A dominant 7 chord, I decided to throw a flat 13 there as well. I just take that flat 13 that we had here for G up one whole step. So this is a movable shape, one that you can use all over the neck. What works one place works every place, right? So we have D minor 7, maybe throw in that pinky on the high 7, the G flat 13, C major 7, and A flat 13, which I could also just play an A minor too. You'll see sometimes it'll be 2, 5, 1 minor 6, usually an A minor 7. Okay, so real quick, let's try out that basic chord progression. We're just going to play the basic shapes: D minor 7, G7, and C major 7 onto the A7 chord. Nice and slow. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. G7, C major 7, A7. Let's do that again, nice and slow. D, G7, C major 7, A7. All right, good. Now let's go on and add in our flat 13 chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. Time, nice and slow. D minor, G flat 13, C major 7, A flat 13. Okay, now that we have one of jazz's most popular chord progressions down, I'm going to break down a very nice bebop lick that we have, drawing notes from the major scale, and also including a flat 7th from our pentatonic scale or our blues scale. Okay, so first I'm going to demonstrate this lick for you at full speed, then I'm going to break it down nice and slow. Sounds like this. Now nice and slow. And just one more time, nice and slow. All right, so the first part I'm going to simplify a little bit by removing the triad sweep in the beginning. So the first section is going to sound like this. One more time. All right, so I just went from 8 to 10 on my B string to the tonic here on the 8th fret of the high E string. Next, I'm doing a little hammer-on pull-off action from the ring finger to the pinky 10th fret up to the 11th fret. And then I'm pulling off to the 8th fret back to the tonic. So far we have. Next, we're going back and forth between the 10th fret and the 8th fret. And then again. All right, so that finishes up section number 1. It's going to sound like this again. One more time. All right, next we're moving on to the B string. This section's gonna sound like this. All right, and that's just going back and forth like we did on the high E string. On the B string, we're going 10, 8, 10, 8. So far, our entire lick. Okay, our next part is gonna sound like this. Putting that in the context of the whole lick. And we're almost finished. All I did there is I played the 10th fret of the G string, walked up chromatically, I went 7, 8, 9, 10, back to the 8th fret, hammer on, And then I'm going to the root C here on the 10th fret of the D string. All right, the final section, we're just throwing in just a little bit of a bebop line to handle that A7 chord we have. Back to the root, it's going from 7th fret of the D string up to the 10th fret of the D string. Okay, so part number 1, part number 2, part number 3, part number 4. Okay, and that last little part, ba-bum, is kind of optional. In fact, this entire sequence can be broken down into separate licks. Okay, so there you have it, a very nice bebop line in the key of C major. Go and practice that 1,000 times, get it down to bread and butter, and before you know it, you'll be able to throw those in live jam sessions. All right, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that lesson on the basic 2-5-1-6 progression and also that bebop line. As promised, I do have 2 tickets to the Newport Jazz Festival's on-tour performance at the Kimmel Center, scheduled for March 9th here in Philadelphia. So if you live in the Philadelphia area and you're a huge jazz fan, this is definitely a show that you don't want to miss. Okay, so if you would like an opportunity to win these tickets to the Newport Jazz Festival's on-tour performance for March 9th, all you have to do is comment down below with your name and like and share this video on Facebook. I'll be picking the winner at random on March 7th. Okay, so take a look below for the full list of performers and more information about the March 9th show. Again, I'll be announcing that winner on Friday, March 7th. Okay, in the meantime, I'll be posting many more videos. I'm Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia, saying happy picking.